going on, Jerome? So one of the tough things that we as fans have to accept is when a player is past his expiration date, right? So that's the only constant, and that's why you cheer for the team because coaches come and go, executives come and go, owners even come and go, but the team remains, and there's always going to be turnovers with players. And the question is, what's going to happen with Harrison Smith this offseason? And Harrison is going to be 35 very shortly, and that's certainly getting up there in age for a safety. And Harrison, for my money, should be in the Hall of Fame, but his career, I mean, could be wrapping up, and him being the second of two first-round picks by the Vikings in 2012 by Ricky Spielman. Remember when Spielman had like this whole on Notre Dame thing? He was just like, hey, Notre Dame, Golden Domers, I love you. Kyle Rudolph, Harrison Smith, Robert Blanton. Whew, good times, man. Don't look up who the other first-round pick in 2012 was. But Harrison has been the man on the back end, just completely one of the hardest hitting safeties in the league, and also one of the true hybrid safeties where he did do his best work down in the box. He's the man in the box, but also he definitely does have the range to be one of the great free safeties and coverage safeties in the game. And whether it's playing split safeties or single high or three deep or whatever, like Harrison Smith really proved that he is scheme agnostic and one of the best safeties in Vikings franchise history, and we've had some pretty good ones. Paul Krause, also a fellow number 22, Joey Browner. Like, Harrison was the combination of Paul Krause and his range and coverage ability, and Joey Browner just smack that all on the floor, smack that, give me some more. That's exactly what Harrison Smith was, man. And, Harrison Smith, it's clear that he still has some good football left in him, but I think it is prudent for teams to let go of a player a year too early versus a year too late. And you saw it last offseason where Harrison, if he didn't take that massive pay cut from 14 to 8, he would have been caught up in the veteran purge like Kendricks, who signed with the Chargers, and Thielen, who signed with the Panthers, and Dalvin, who eventually signed with the Jets, but now with the Ravens, and also Patrick Peterson signing with the Saints, or the Steelers, excuse me. And it's been, I mean, I know that Thielen has 101 catches and 1,002 yards, but also 9.9 yards per catch. I don't know, man. But, with Harrison, would he go somewhere else and start things over? I don't know. He's under contract for another 2 years. He does have a $14.45 million base in 2024, and a portion of that becomes guaranteed on the third day of the new league year. So I think if Harrison's going to be back, it's going to have to be a massive pay cut situation yet again. And I mean, he's even though he's up there in age, he certainly is a team leader. He wears that captain C on his chest. He was a leader in everything but title before then, and he's just one of those quiet professionals who lead by example, who get things done and have a high standard for his teammates. And over the last 2 years, even though last year the Donishell defense was not great and Harrison Smith didn't play in the box as much as you would like him to do, it did show how great of range he still had, because he still had 5 interceptions last year. Now, he doesn't have any picks this season, but that's more function of him playing down in the box a lot more. And Harrison, throughout his career, he does so many good things for the defense that don't show up in the stat box, and especially when the 8 years of the Zimmer regime. Harrison Smith was a de facto extra linebacker with Kendricks and Barr, and he set the edge against the run, and he was intimidating. And the way that the Vikings set up bluffs and feints off of his stunts and blitzes, it's just really impressive. And this year, Harrison has 90 tackles, 3 sacks. All 3 of them came against the Panthers, as well as 12 pressures. And he can still do some good things, but like you could tell, like he's, and maybe this is partly his fault. Again, we're victim blaming here, but Harrison Smith has sent the bar up so high that even when a little bit of reduction, it's pretty noticeable. And Harrison is still, playing like a top 20 safety in the league, but is he elite where he used to be? It was one of the best safeties in the league? No. But it's really interesting too, because would Harrison still have had impact this year if Brian Flores didn't come in and run his multiple safety scheme? Or would it have been a spot where you would have been like, hey, why is Harrison playing over Josh Metellus? Or why is Harrison playing over Cam Beasley? So Flores basically starting 3 safeties. It did allow Cam Beasley to show up and show out and have a breakout season. It did allow Josh Metellus to have an all-pro adjacent season, even though neither of them got Pro Bowl love. Except for the fans. Fans know. That's right, man. But again, it could be an end of an era, and the business is the business. And Harrison, he's a guy who's had developments in his life now. He's got married, he's got a family, and all that stuff, and he clearly does have interests off the field. So maybe it's a spot where he pulls a Jared Allen and rides off into the sunset, and future Vikings Ring of Honor inductee, future Hall of Famer, and everything's good. Or maybe he wants to saddle up and play one more season and go somewhere else. Or is it a spot where there's a significant pay cut and Harrison realizes and his agent realizes, like last offseason, that the market isn't as big as it used to be, and hell, running it back with this locker room, which he clearly loves, and maybe Flores is even back next year and there's a role for him. So I don't know. I think all options are on the table right now, but it's just, just thinking back to peak Harrison Smith, especially on some of those great Vikings defenses under Zimmer, where Harrison Smith was that dude. Like for my money, he was every bit as good as Troy Polamalu. He's up there with Ed Reed, the other great safeties at the beginning of his era. He's up there with Earl Thomas and whatnot. But it's just Harrison was so good that you almost took for granted how good he was. And that's something that you should never do. You should appreciate greatness, and Harrison Smith should be a Hall of Famer. His 2017 season may have been one of the greatest safety seasons in NFL history, and it's just, you got to take your hat off to him. And the fact that he's going out the way that he's going out, still playing at not the elite level that he set for himself, but still a very good level, you have to respect that. But we'll see what happens this offseason. The Vikings do have a lot of mouths to feed and could save some cap space, but maybe Harrison's back on another pay cut. Would absolutely love and adore having him, and we'll see what happens, man. There you go. But your thoughts are thoughts. Could Sunday be the final game for Harrison Smith in the Vikings jersey? If that's the case, he's got to go out with a bang. I mean, let Flores let him off the chain again. So there you go. Anyways, Skull, no production value.